this is Melanie for Pardesi. This is a special video. I am answering the questions from the suggestion of Chris. One of the commenters said, how about doing a question and answer and ask me anything, or otherwise known as an AMA. So here we go. I got a lot of great questions. I'm going to try to answer most of them. I don't know if we'll have, if we have 3 hours here to cover all of them, but anyway, let's give it a shot. Okay, because Chris started this all off and I thought it was such a great idea, I'm going to start with one of his questions. When did you start watching Indian films, and which was the first film you watched? Okay, so the very first Indian film I ever saw was Lagan, and that is because it was nominated for the foreign film Oscar. And the Oscars are my Super Bowl, or World Cup, if you will. I follow the Oscars like other people follow sports, following it on blogs and seeing what kind of the horse race is and who's going to get the different categories and whatever. And I try to watch as many films as I can. So anyway, I had heard so many great, this is 15 years ago, back when Netflix only rented films on DVD and they sent them to you in the mail. So I watched Lagan and I was transfixed. And then I watched Dil Chata Hai because it also had Amir Khan in it. But since I couldn't read any of the titles and I just didn't even know where to go next, so I fell away from watching for a long time. And then a little over 3 years ago, Netflix streaming here in America recommended, since I liked romantic films, it recommended DDLJ, Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge. I was a goner. So I watched that film. Then they also at that time had Rabni Bani Di Jodi. So I watched a second Shah Rukh Khan film, and it makes me laugh now, but he looked so different that I actually looked up in the middle of the film if it was the same actor playing both parts, because he looked so different to me. And then I have a next door neighbor who is from India, and I was texting her, what else? What else could I watch next? Because I just fell in love with the music, the songs, the emotion, everything about it, and I became obsessed, especially with Shah Rukh Khan, of who I have seen now 54 films. What inspired you? That's what I said, especially the music. Do you have any connections with India? No one in my family is from India or has ever been to India. I do have next door neighbors who are from South India, and since I've become interested in Indian films, I have joined a Bollywood dance class, and I have met many other Indian friends, and there's a large South Asian population in my town, so I'm lucky to be able to meet so many people from India. But I have never been. It is my dream to go to India. Have you ever tried Indian food? Yes, of course. What is my favorite? My next door neighbor made for Diwali last year, she made galgappas. So I finally got to try the Indian street food that Shah Rukh Khan eats in Rabni Bani Di Jodi in the famous scene where he's having the contest with Anushka. And maybe she made it mild just for me, but that was one of my favorite things ever. And of course, mango lassi. I make a pretty mean mango lassi myself, and my neighbor asked me if I would make it again for this year's Diwali party. Do I speak any Hindi or any of the regional languages? No. Now, I have seen the most in Hindi films, and so I can pick up some words here and there. I mean, I know what the word yar means. I know kahani, prem, certain words I have picked up, but I can't, if someone would just speak it to me, I can't understand. And I certainly can't speak any of the languages. So I'm completely lost pretty much in Telugu, Malayalam, and Tamil films without subtitles. I don't understand even the relationship words. I'm starting to learn, because in the subtitles, it won't specify which grandmother it is, for instance, or which uncle it is, which is a plot point that's important sometimes. Or Rajat Pandey asks, HIMY or Friends, no need of any explanation. I actually had to think about that one for a minute because it wasn't obvious to me. To be honest with you, I spend so much time watching Indian movies that I don't have time to watch that much television. And my children were very young when those two TV shows were really super popular, and I just never really got into them. I have watched individual episodes, but I have not watched entire seasons of either of those, even though, you know, one of my sons wore a Legendary, spelled, you know, Dairy, t-shirt for many months. ID 99914 asks, how popular are non-Bollywood Indian films among Americans? Non-Bollywood. Okay. So certain films that would kind of be called indies, like The Lunchbox, for instance, are very popular among the kind of people who like to watch independent films. So that was a film that was extremely popular. I would not call Slumdog Millionaire an Indian film. It's inspired by Indian films. That one was crazy popular because it won the Oscar. So other than that, there's just really not an awareness of Indian films. Even I've attended Sundance many years, and I think they had Udon. You know, I mean, rarely they might have one independent or parallel cinema kind of independent film at a place like Sundance that seeks out world cinema even. So, and as far as Bollywood films, I mean, most of my acquaintances, friends, just, they have no awareness who Shah Rukh Khan is, who Salman Khan or Amir Khan. They don't know any of the, you know, they don't know any of the names. DDLJ doesn't mean anything to them. So, you know, there's just really not even aware. They all think everything is the same. You know what I mean? They don't understand the difference between Tollywood, Bollywood, Mollywood, and Collywood. They have no idea about regional cinema at all. Musical Note asks, how come you are attracted to Indian films which are culturally very different? And do you get irritated reading subtitles during the whole length of the movie? I do not get irritated watching movies with subtitles. I guess you just, once you get into it, it just becomes natural. Sometimes it's hard to like look up and down when something really emotional is happening, and that's why sometimes I see much more watching a film a second time, because the first time I had to really read closely to the subtitles to know what was happening, and then on a subsequent watch I can catch more subtlety in the actor's expression during, you know, a very fraught scene, for instance. Yes, it is very culturally different, and things that are obvious to an Indian audience are not obvious to me because I just didn't grow up in it. Things like a certain song coming up on the radio in the background in a scene, I will be in a theater and everyone will start laughing, and I won't know what that song is from and why that's funny. So it would be the same thing if someone had never seen The Godfather and somebody did a Marlon Brando impression, you know, like I'll make him an offer he can't refuse kind of a thing. And if you've never seen The Godfather, you don't know why that's funny if somebody else is making a reference like that, and not, you know, in a completely different kind of movie. So I miss cultural things, but I'm gradually learning, and to me it's a delight when I'm in on the joke. Sometimes I actually know more about a film than some of my, for instance, my Indian neighbor came with me to see Happy New Year. And I had recently seen Chak De India, so when Deepika made fun of his "you have 70 minutes" speech before the big dance competition, I'm laughing my head off. And my neighbor, who has not seen as many Shah Rukh Khan films as I have, had no clue what was going on. You know, there's other things about religion that I'm just gradually learning, or I haven't read the Ramayana and I don't have, you know, as much familiarity with all the characters and the Mahabharata and so forth. So I'm learning gradually, but I still have a long way to go. But that's one of the things I love, that there's so many things to learn about, and it just, as I keep going, there's more and more to learn, and I love that. Spartan GPD asked, what do you think about the Pizza Tamil horror movie and Vikram Vedha? Well, I did a video review of Vikram Vedha. I loved it, so you should check that out. And Pizza is the only Indian horror film that ever scared me. Like, I had to turn it off in the middle. It got so intense. Horror is not my usual genre. I think somebody else asked, what genre do you not like or do you not watch? And that would be, in general, horror, and especially movies like the Saw movies that are almost like torture porn. That's not for me. That is not for me. What Anuj Singh has asked several questions, but here's one. What are your favorite Hollywood movies? I like all kinds of movies. I like popcorn movies. I like classic old-fashioned movies. I like independent cinema. So I have a lot of favorites. I love the movie Hot Fuzz, in which I love the whole Cornetto trilogy. I love a classic movie called His Girl Friday with Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell. Oh, Walter.
The paper's going to have to get along without me. So are you. Just didn't work out, Walter.
Well, it would have worked out if you'd been satisfied with just being editor and reporter, but not you. You had to marry me, spoil everything.
I wasn't satisfied. I suppose I proposed to you.
Well, you practically did, making Google eyes at me for 2 years until I broke down. Oh, Walter. And I still claim I was tight the night I proposed to you. If you'd have been a gentleman, you'd forgotten all about it, but not you. You're losing your eye. You used to be able to pitch better than that.
That is one of my all-time favorites. The recent La La Land, I felt like that movie was made just for me, because that is the closest thing to Indian cinema. I mean, it's an homage to the old-fashioned movie musicals. And when I was sitting there, I started to tear up in the theater. It was so beautiful. Some like the dance sequence in the planetarium. Oh my gosh, that was just amazing. Anuj had also asked if I'd seen any horror films. Yes, but especially the Malayalam horror films, the music is not damn scary enough. I mean, you need scary music. And Ezra made me laugh. It was not scary. And you know what? It doesn't have to be good visual effects. Pizza used very simple techniques, and it was one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. I think you are, this is Anuj again, I think you are a college professor. Tell us about your background and other hobbies. I am not a college professor. My father was one, though. My background. Basically, I actually have a computer science engineering degree, although I have not used that for decades at this point. To be honest with you, I have been a stay-at-home mother, and I am just obsessed with movies. Movies are my main hobby. Watching them, going to places like the Sundance Film Festival, that is like the ultimate vacation to me. It was, I love that. I love that. I'm all about the movies, and it's not just Indian cinema. Like I said, the Oscars, that's my Super Bowl. Nick says he is a USA citizen of Indian origin. What's the difference between Bollywood and Hollywood? Besides, Bollywood has less CGI. I love this line that you wrote. I think Bollywood has a button to make you cry by telling you a human story. You have hit it right on the head. That is why I love it, because I love it that it has so much emotion in it. And someone else asked, could Hollywood learn from Bollywood? I feel like Hollywood has gotten very cynical and detached in a lot of the storytelling. They rarely make musicals, I should say, since we just had La La Land. But I love the song and the dance and the music, that are in Bollywood films. I know some people turn up their nose at that, but to me, that is the essence of it, and I love it. But there is also, I've actually studied this. I mean, I've read books about Indian cinema written for college courses. Karan Johar's biography, Unsuitable Boy, also talked about this. There is a different structure to an Indian film than a Hollywood film. A Hollywood film is written in 3 acts. A Bollywood film is written, or I should say, an Indian film is written in 6 acts. And the interval point is an exclamation point that separates the 2 halves of the film. They can be extremely different in tone. You're meant to have that point where you go outside and you're like, wow, what did you think of that? And there's the cliffhanger or whatever it is. And it's a very different rhythm to the film. The filmmaking style is just, the storytelling style is different. And when I first started watching Indian cinema, I felt kind of off kilter because I didn't really understand the flow and the narrative structure of Indian films. Now I'm very used to it, and I miss it when I'm watching Hollywood films. You know, I sometimes feel left wanting because a Hollywood film isn't 2.5 hours long, and it's not filling in all the things that I want. It also takes you purposely through all different emotions, and I really like that. You have the highs, you have the lows. It's not just all detached and at a sarcastic distance. So the movie Ghajini, I think, is a good example of the difference between Hollywood and Bollywood. Christopher Nolan is an exemplary Hollywood director. I love his film Memento. It is a very tight script. In the film, we have a very brief flashback of the wife, you know, and that's the whole purpose for Guy Pearce wanting to get revenge and all of this, you know. I mean, he's tattooing himself. Okay, so you have this basic story, right? It's a wonderful film. Then you take it and you star Amir Khan, and you have the same structure of a man who has lost his memory and wants to revenge the killer of his wife. Okay, but the Indian version doesn't just give you a momentary flashback. It gives you an hour-long love story of how he got together with his wife, and so it's like you have a romantic comedy for an hour. Then when that interval point hits and you get the murder, the impact of it just wallops you. You know, you're not in a remove and detached, oh, this is kind of interesting, this guy lost his wife and he's tattooing himself. No, you are walloped with the emotion of the impact of him losing this amazing woman that you've been watching for an hour. Then we get into all the violence and the cat and mouse and all of that. It has everything. You know what I'm saying? It's everything in one movie, and that's why I love that film. So that is a good example of, you know, the Hollywood film was great, and so is the Bollywood film. They're two different things. They're both great. They're great for different reasons. I love them both, but each of them have a very different narrative style. There are a couple of different questions. I'm going to Abhimanyu M, and, you know, Absurder, other people, and Naughty Necromancer, etc. want to know favorite film, favorite director, favorite actor, basically, for different genres. So let's run through them. Anurag wanted to know extensively about Malayalam, the Malayalam industry. Okay, so let's break it down. So I started watching Hindi films because of Shah Rukh Khan a little over 3 years ago. Favorite director in Bollywood would have to be, you know what, it's kind of a tie between Aditya Chopra, because DDLJ is so big for me, and Karan Johar, because reading Karan Johar's biography, I realized how influential he was in working with Aditya. So, I mean, I love the Karan Johar films. That's just, to me, that is everything that the Hindi industry is about. It's all the music. It's all the emotion. Yeah, just make me cry, make me laugh, make me everything. So, I love him. But, I mean, Aditya Chopra's only made a few films, but they are two of my favorites that I have watched over and over and over and over again. Favorite actor? Shah Rukh Khan, obviously. And actress, you know what? It depends on my mood, to be honest with you, because I think Rani Mukherjee, I just love her. My favorite director in Tamil would be Mani Ratnam. Because of Shah Rukh Khan, I watched Dil Se, which is a Mani Ratnam film. And I'm very influenced. I had Margaret of Don't Call It Bollywood as a good friend of mine, and she was a mentor to me in saying, okay, you have to watch this. This is a classic. These are the Mani Ratnam films you should watch. And also my next door neighbor are from South India, and so they said, well, if you like Mani Ratnam, then you should see Roja, Monoraga. You know, you should see the classics of. So I sought out some classic Mani Ratnam films, but my favorite Tamil film is, and the reason that I watched it is because I went to an A.R. Rahman concert in Chicago, and the Mental Manadil song blew me away. Like, I had to say, what is that movie from? I have to see that movie. And it's Okay Kanmani. That is my favorite Mani Ratnam film, my favorite Tamil film. I have watched that film over and over again. And because of that film, Dulquer Salman starred in that film. Loved him. He was so charming, so amazing. I typically, how I go is I follow an actor and then seek out their older works. So, of course, that film was made in Tamil, but the body of his work is in the Malayalam industry. So, Anurag, you asked, who got me into Malayalam cinema? Well, there's one person, Dulquer Salman. That is who got me into Malayalam cinema. And you know what? I'm not the only one, because I've heard of other fans. You know, the whole world of Malayalam cinema opened up because we went and watched Bangalore Days because Dulquer Salman was starred in it. And then, you know, I had to watch, because then I saw Nemappalli and I had to watch Primam, and I watched Ustad Hotel. I sent away to India and I ordered a bunch of DVDs so that I could find them in good quality and watch them. So that is how I got into Malayalam cinema, but it's like it gradually branched out. You know, I saw Nemappalli in Bangalore Days, then I went and looked for his films and saw things like Pram and Om Shanti Oshana and so forth, and on and on and on. So, and then, you know, I expanded. I realized, Prithviraj is big in Malayalam cinema, and, you know, so it just kind of snowballed from following certain actors' careers and then branching out from there, saying, okay, I really liked this particular director, and then favorite Malayalam films. Okay, this is where it gets difficult because I have many favorites. Bangalore Days was extremely influential to me. That one I just love. It has most of the young actors that I really love. Devasuram, #1 classic for me, Mohanlal. And I have a really special place in my heart for Om Shanti Oshana, because this is one thing that I love about Malayalam cinema, is that it showcases women's stories. And this scene of Niven Pauly carrying the coffee cups in the same way as if it's like a bride viewing, and it's turned around and he's modestly looking at the ground. Oh, that scene alone just makes that one of my favorite movies. And then the twist at the end. Oh, anyway, love that one. For favorite director in Malayalam films is hard. The director that I think is the best of the new young crop is, I think his name is Lilo Jose Pellicerie. He did Angamelli Diaries. The most amazing Malayalam film. Unbelievable. That 11-minute tracking shot at the end, are you kidding me? I cannot wait for his next film. I cannot wait for the next film. I haven't liked all of his previous films. I haven't seen all of his films. City of God was amazing. Amen, I wasn't as much. Again, it was a comedy. I wasn't getting it all. For Telugu movies, it's because my neighbor said, hey, I've heard about this thing called Bahubali. You want to go with me? Okay, that was my first Telugu film. I saw it 4 times in the theater alone. And then again, following an actor. I followed Prabhas and sought out his other films. I've now seen 10 of his Telugu films. My favorite director in Telugu films is definitely Rajamouli. It's not just because of the Bahubali films, but also Iga. I mean, just the sheer imagination in that movie, you know, no one can even compare. Each of these regions has a different flavor for me. I don't right now watch one more than the other. Especially because of this YouTube channel, I'm kind of watching them all equally. I will go in phases where, you know, I'm obsessed with Prabhas, so I watch a bunch of his movies in a row. Or I become obsessed with Dulquer Salman, so I watch a bunch of his Malayalam films in a row. You know, so that's kind of how it goes. It's not, and it's also what am I in the mood for? Because Malayalam films have this natural style of acting, and they're can be very emotional, but they also can be kind of slow sometimes, which is okay. But, you know, but if I feel like I want a lot of action, I want to see people flying around and I want to see machete fights, it's a Saturday night, I'm going to put in a Telugu film. So it just can depend on my mood what I put in that DVD player or what I stream. I have not seen as many Kannada films. I think I've only seen 1 or 2. So I can't really say what that genre is like to me. Anu asked another really good, interesting question. What are normal ticket prices in the States? And are the ticket prices the same or different for Indian and Hollywood movies? Okay, this depends on what language it's in. And I would love to know, how expensive are films when you see them in India in the different regions? Because it seems like they're very different for different regions. So here where I live, in the Midwest, it's not the most expensive ticket prices for movies. If I'm going to go, and it can depend on the day and the time that I'm going to see it, how expensive a Hollywood movie is. Typically, it's around $10 or $11. Because I'm at home and I can have freedom during the day, I can go see a matinee where a movie might be discounted to $6 or $7. The theater where I see Hindi films, that is the price that tickets. It's the same as Hollywood and Hindi. It's all the same. The place that I go see Malayalam films is an Indian movie theater, and they price their Malayalam films again at about $10, the same as a regular ticket price. Now, where it gets different is Telugu and Tamil films. They are priced very differently, and it seems to be based on the star. So I have, especially for Telugu films, it has been anything between, definitely the first week it is more expensive. There's no difference if I go see it during the day. There's no matinee discount. It can be less expensive over time, but generally, and I'm trying to see it at the beginning. So it's been anywhere between $18. The most expensive was Bahubali on IMAX. First weekend was $40. Now even that, Bahubali, there was a premium price for the Hindi, I think of $25 or $30, but it was less expensive to see it in Hindi than it was in Telugu. But I have to hear Prabhas's own voice, so it's Telugu for me for something like Bahubali. Typically a Telugu film would be $20 to $25, so it's expensive for me, or it feels expensive when I'm going to the theater. And since I'm going by myself, there's a lot of deals here, like buy one, get one free nights. Doesn't help me. So somebody asked, how do my family deal about me watching Indian movies, and what if I am rewatching a favorite? How do they react? My family treats it with bemusement, basically. They are not really interested in watching the Indian films. If my son is in the room, he will get up and leave, or whatever. So they've gotten to the point where they walk through the room, they can recognize, they know who Shah Rukh Khan is, they know who Salman Khan is. My husband might say something like, oh, he's, Shah Rukh is really young in that one, if I'm watching a really early film or something. But only the Bahubali films have I made them sit down and watch. So it is completely my hobby. It is not a family activity. Okay, Anush has an interesting question. If I enjoy Indian comedies, which are slapstick, I have a problem with Indian comedies because so much of it is wordplay and it gets lost in the subtitles. Or it's based on cultural things that I'm just not catching. I feel like when I go to comedies, I am just getting a mere fraction of what is really going on, and I'm hearing people around me really laugh at something, and it's going over my head. I'm not getting it all, so sometimes it can be frustrating. If it's a play on words, or a pun or something on the sound of a word. I mean, one of the most helpful was, I specifically remember in Happy New Year, there was a play on the word for nine, now, and no, and that, Deepika's character couldn't understand that when Shah Rukh was speaking the English word no, and they went back and forth, and the subtitles actually showed the, NAU, to show that there was wordplay and what was, so that you could catch the joke. But they don't always do that. So then this is over my head. Fennel on Twitter asks, have I met Indian film stars? If only. No, I have not met any, and I will tell you a story. When Shah Rukh Khan came here a couple years ago for the Slam tour, and ticket prices, my neighbor was going with me, so I couldn't go crazy with where I really wanted to sit. And we were sitting, I don't know, tickets were a couple $100, but I wanted to be on the main floor close to the stage. Those tickets were $3,000 a piece. And you got to have a meet and greet with Shah Rukh and get a picture with him before the show. I was sorely tempted, let me just tell you. And it's probably the only way that I'm going to meet an Indian film star. Anuj asks if I love Anurag Kashyup movies. I have not seen Gangs of Wasseypur yet. So I know they're on my list. I need to see them. So I did not enjoy Bombay Velvet. I'll just put it to that. But I'm not against his style. I think I've seen more films that he has written the script than actually directed. And I don't have a problem with his gritty gangster kind of style. And I know Gangs of Wasseypur is supposed to be amazing, so yes, it's on the list. Okay, Anuj also asks, apart from watching the latest movies in theaters, where do you watch old Indian movies on Netflix or DVD or what? So, and he also asked if I would make a video about my DVD collection, which I think is excellent. It could also be a very long video because I have collected a lot of Indian DVDs. I'm not going to collect every single Shah Rukh Khan film, but I have an entire shelf that is only Shah Rukh Khan DVDs. So, when I first started watching, Netflix was my first source, Netflix streaming. Actually, my local library here, because we have such a South Indian population, had quite a few DVDs that I could check out. I discovered Eros Now, which is a subscription service here in the U.S., which is only, I don't know, it was only like $8 or $9 a month, similar to what my subscription to Netflix is. So I watched a lot of classic movies on Eros Now. Amazon Prime, at the beginning of when I was watching, did not have a lot of films. They are now expanding. There seems to be like this race between Netflix here in the U.S. and Amazon Prime. They've got a Hira channel that I have not subscribed to yet, but supposedly it has quite an extensive library. YouTube is wonderful. I can put a subtitle file. I will admit I have watched some films on eEnthusian, which I know is kind of a pirate site, but desperate measures call for. So I generally don't just download bootlegs. I would rather pay for it. Google Play has some, of the old movies just for a couple of dollars, even to buy just for a few dollars. So I will do that. The latest thing is that I have subscribed to Hotstar, recently became available in the US. And so I'm going to try to give up Eros Now and try Hotstar. I can't believe how fast some of the movies that were in theaters that I might have missed are coming on there. But I also have treated myself to several orders from India of DVDs. So, they're just so, especially if I'm ordering a whole bundle of them, some of the classic films can be really inexpensive, and it's worth it. It's worth a chance, even if I'm not sure if it have subtitles or not. If it's only $1 or $2, throw it in the box and I'll figure it out and see. Anurim asked about what do I feel about Kerala and what have I learned about the cultural and the lifestyle there. And I'm still learning, but I have just definitely learned that it's a very unique place. The mix of the people, how many people who are Christian there, how many people are Muslim, the relationship to the Gulf, and how many people had immigrated there or had maybe the head of household living and working there while the rest of the family was still in Kerala. There's just so many things that are unique about it. I will tell you some things that is completely confusing to me is the political parties. So, for instance, a movie like Classmates, where you have different student groups of different political parties, to you it is obvious when they raise whatever flag what that means, you know, which political party they're a part of. And to me, it is just, it's all over my head. You know, Comrade in America, I figured out that Dolker was playing a communist, but the meaning of him being a communist in Kerala and in college, you know, it's just very different than what the word communist would mean here in America. So I didn't, you know, I'm just not getting all the shades of meaning, especially with politics and political parties. It's beyond me. But the scenery, oh, I would love, so much love to visit Kerala. I just, you know, I can't. Someday, it's my dream. Because Atkan asks, what is your view on Indian movies being less technologically advanced and also on plagiarism in Bollywood? You know what? You can tell a great story and you don't have to have all the CGI in the world. Sometimes the CGI gets in the way. So I feel like action movies in Hollywood, I feel like I'm seeing the same things over and over and over again. And none of it feels fresh to me. Like, it's boring. It's boring. It's like, okay, I'm watching these super robots battle each other, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, tell me a real human story. So you don't have to have the CGI and, you know, all of the money in the world to tell a great story. I mean, it's interesting, though, when I do see something that is a sci-fi, kind of like 24, the Tamil film starring Surya, was really, really interesting, and the production value I thought was great. So you know, you can have something that looks fantastic and has even a sci-fi story and be told in Indian cinema. Plagiarism, I can have mixed feelings, because sometimes I mentioned Ghajini, sometimes I like to see how Indian cinema will Indianize story that I've already seen and tell it in a new and fresh way. So, you know, how many times has Shakespeare been put on? You know what I mean? You can tell an old story in a new way, and I'm all about that. But sometimes when I kind of laugh when I hear a song, you know, and they've just obviously ripped it off and plagiarized the song. Recently, I kind of got upset about the Pravas Saho poster looking so much like the Blade Runner poster. It's like, come on, this is a really big one. Can't you just do something original? But, you know, most of the time it doesn't bother me so much. It actually, like I said, I kind of like to see the different take on it, see it in a fresh way. But I do like it if they acknowledge, like, I didn't happen to see Saif Ali Khan's Chef, but that one did acknowledge that it was a remake. Or Bang Bang, you know, was a remake of Tom Cruise's Night and Day, and they acknowledged that. So, you know, give a nod to it and go on and make your new film. I hope that you have enjoyed this Ask Me Anything. Maybe we'll do this again. I've got like at least a half an hour here to edit. If you'd like this video, please share it, press the like button, subscribe to this channel, although you probably are only watching this if you're already a subscriber, if you've gotten this far. And follow us on Twitter at Pardesi YT.